Okay, so we're back. Laura and I are here to kind of go over everything more in depth this time with regards to our game Pounce. We're really, this video is going to be much longer, kind of talk about, again, basic rules, different variations that you can play, as well as some of the more difficult rules surrounding the game that are quite necessary and will come up very often, and also kind of basic strategy at the end, figuring out how to actually play the game effectively, both in teams and in singles. So yeah, Laura's going to give us a little rundown of the actual game and kind of the basics.
Alright, so we really wanted this game to be small and fairly contained so that you could throw in your bag really easily, go to some friend's house, or have it at the bottom of your backpack, whatever. So it comes all together like this, one piece, and you break it apart. So you're going to take off a top cap, and there's the cup underneath, so that's one cup. You can put the cap back on. I should have used the other cup first, but that's okay. Take off the bottom piece. Inside you're going to find a bunch of your game chips. Those are your lives. And 2 ping pong balls. And then you will put the bottom on. You have the other cup out. So this ends up being your podium where you pay your lives. So every time you lose a life, you just stick it in the top. Fairly easy there. So it's super easy to break apart. You put it together the same way. Everything is contained within the one piece here. All fits together. Okay, so this can go to the side for now. The idea of Pounce is that you want to catch the person beside you by getting your ping pong ball in your cup before the person to your left, and you catch them this way. So you stack on top of them. You can play it on any flat surface, floors, tables. We normally play on a table because it's easier, but it's really easy also to sit down and just play that way as well. It changes how you bounce your ball into the cup. So if there's people around a table, so you have 6 people playing, whatever, the cups start opposite to each other, so that they start at a kind of equal distance around the table as you start playing, and you start by just trying to get your ball into the cup. So if you end up bouncing your ball into the cup on your first try, you can send it to you can send it to anyone on the table. It doesn't need to be the person directly to your left, so you can slide it across to anyone unless they have the other cup. So I can't, if I'm here, I can't slide this to Josh, and I can't stack him over to my right either. You have to stack this way, but I can slide it to anyone because I got it on my first try. If you get it in on your 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 20th time, then you have to pass to your left. Fairly simple. And the idea is that eventually these cups will get to this position where Josh has one and I have one, and we're both shooting, and Josh stacks me. So as soon as he gets me, I'm going to have to shoot a penalty shot. So the penalty shot is where this comes in. It goes on top, and then I am now shooting at the top there. These aren't that hard to get into, actually. Just practice. They seem hard at the very beginning. If I don't get it, I end up paying a life, and I'm out for 5 seconds. So that's the simple way. Now, if I do get it, woohoo, I get to pass this to whoever I want. I don't pay any lives, I'm not out for any time. And I would pass it to, say, Josh, and now he has to make it, and it is worth 2 lives, and you're out for 10 seconds at that point. Okay? When you run out of lives, you're out of the game, and the game resets. So everyone around the table, get a break for a second, and it resets. When someone is shooting a podium shot, or penalty shot, the person directly to the left has the cup, the other cup. As soon as they miss, the person to the left gets to start shooting. And while we wait for that person to be out for 5 seconds, what's the idea is hopefully you'll be able to get this cup back over there and kind of screw them a little bit. Okay?
So the idea with that is that Laura makes this on her first try. There's a theoretical player over here. I haven't entered the game yet. He makes it on his first try, or she, and they get me again before he can even take a shot, in which case I'm out again. Or I'm taking a penalty shot again. Or you don't have to do that to people, but
Yeah, you do.
if it's someone you want out of the game relatively quick, you can kind of pick on people that way, put them on runs. So, there are a number of variations with regards to how you can play this. The main game that we've kind of invented with this is centered around an 8-player game in teams of 2. So we have some props here that we're going to set up as our players in teams of 2 to kind of give you an idea how you set that up. The most important thing in order to set it up around the table is that even though your teammates, you never want to be next to your teammate. So the idea is that if this is team 1, this is team 2, team 3, team 4. To set people up, we go team 1, team 2, team 3, team 4, and then back again to team 1, team 2. Is that right?
Yep.
Team 3.
Wait, crossing for...
And team 4. So that way, if say ocean artifacts gets out of the game, right, and they're removed and they've lost all their lives, you end up being beside people anyways that are not on your team, all the way down to the 2 versus 2. So anyways, this is the main game. The game comes with 40 tokens. So the main game is set up, the competitive game is set up such that every team has 10 lives each. They're shared lives. So that means that the other teams could pick on your weaker player, and you could not actually lose a life, but your teammate loses all 10 lives, and your team's still out of the game. Yeah, so that's pretty much how it goes. With that, you play until a team is out, and then you have to reset the cups. So, like Laura said, you need to reset where the cups are, and we do that by setting it to the weakest player. So again, we'll imagine the stuffed animals are out. Is that right?
Sure.
That's the wrong one, I think.
Nope. Oh yeah, no, it is.
Yeah.
Frogs are together.
The ducky is. The duck's out. So in this case, the seashells or the sea artifacts have the least amount of lives, so they get to start with the cups. That is not when a team gets removed. At the beginning of the game, there's a number of ways you can do it. We tend just to say that everybody shoots a penalty shot at the beginning, and the first team to make it on a round, their teammates start with the cups. It can take a little while with that, so you can do other things, but it's up to you. Flip a coin, rock, paper, scissors, twirl in the air as far as you can. It's
Any of the options.
Any of the options. Or any steers. So yeah, that's the doubles. It's the most competitive. There's a lot of strategy to it with regards to working people down evenly. We can go over that a bit later. You can play team games with any number of teams. Don't recommend going 2v2. It's a little bit slow. You might as well play singles at that point. And then we have set it with 8. Once you start going over 8, it starts slowing down. You can do it, but there will be people that aren't playing in the game that often for periods of time. Again, same thing with the lives. You don't have to play with 10 lives. That's just the way we set it. It's a pretty long game with 10 lives. It's probably 30 minutes at least if people are good. It could be longer than that. But you can play with 3 lives, 5 lives, anything. Just know that 3 lives can go pretty quick. 3 or
And if you're playing singles, it's generally the same idea for starting it. The lives, you choose the amount of lives, you figure out how to start it, the winner, whoever's just directly across the limit. Not their partner at that point because you're playing singles, but whoever's just directly across the limit starts.
Yeah, so same thing with singles is that the only difference is you don't have to worry about any team tactics. So it's just 1v1-on-1, you can go to anyone on the table, pick on anyone, beat anybody up, get them out. You can play with or without lives if you just feel like playing. You don't have to play with lives. It's just a way to determine winners, but you can just play for fun. The big difference with singles is actually restarting when you get down to a lower number of people. So let's get rid of 4. Let's go down to a 4-person game. Okay, so we're going to go down to a 4-person game here. Give everybody lives. What else is going to take 4?
Dragon has 2.
Dragon has 2.
And Frog has 3.
Okay.
And Ducky probably only has 1.
Yeah.
So sad.
It's because he's got little flappy arms. It's hard to play the game with. So anyways, we're going to imagine that our fifth player just got removed from the game and we actually have to restart here. So how that works is that it's the same as the team. The person with the least amount of lives is going to start with it, and the person directly across, no matter what, is also going to start with it. That way nobody is in immediate danger of getting out. So these guys are going to start in that situation. So it becomes more complicated, though, once we get rid of the frog. Ducky miraculously stayed in because the whale picked on the frog.
The way of things.
In this situation, we just lost the other frog, and now we have to figure out who's going to start with it. So, this one's pretty easy. Again, the person with the least amount of lives is going to be in the most powerful position. So, in that case, Duck starts with it again, and Whale gets it here. This would be the same even if these lives were switched, because, again, Ducky is in the most powerful position. And this guy kind of gets out, even though he has the most lives, he gets out of jail with regards to that. So, yeah. If there's a clear person with the least amount of lives, they start in the most powerful position. Now, okay, you want to do that? Okay. Now, if we get into this situation where there's 2 people that are tied here, this remains the same. So we can't change it at all. Let's give Dragon back more lives so we can understand moving. Okay, so now the Dragon has 3 lives, and Whale's actually going to want to have 1 life. So the Duck and the Whale have the same amount of lives, and what happens is that instead of them being in bad positions, you put the strongest player in the worst position, which means that the Whale starts on the right, and the Dragon starts on the left. And the Dragon's in immediate danger. Okay, so that's the hardest thing. Now Dragon's been removed, and we've got a Whale versus Ducky head-to-head battle. So this is just kind of how you finish a singles game if you so choose. And what happens is that you've got the pedestal over here, the Whale and the Ducky. A person counts you in the same way that anytime you start, somebody who's not shooting should just kind of go 3, 2, 1, go. However you feel fair. Same thing happens with this. Someone who's not playing, who's been removed, just counts them in. They go 3, 2, 1. They start shooting. First person to make it and cover. In that case, it didn't happen. We start again. So if someone counts us in, 3, 2, 1 again. I cover it. Ducky takes the penalty shot and misses. In this case, they only have 1 life, so Whale wins. But if they have, say, 3 lives in this case, what would happen is that Ducky would just lose a life, and we would restart with another 3, 2, 1 count. And then that way, Whale doesn't constantly get ahead. There's no 5-second penalty when you're going head-to-head. Yeah, so that's all the singles. It's pretty straightforward. Not as it's better to learn on, I would say.
Yeah.
You kind of understand the flow of the game, but you don't. There isn't like the team combativeness, almost like the really intricate tactics that go on later in the game. So.
Re-Nag.
No, there's a number of other variations as well. So if you don't feel like playing and you feel like the tower shot is too difficult, sometimes it is. I would say it's kind of like a 1 in 10 thing once you start getting good at it. You can play just by stacking the cups. So, yeah, which is obviously easier. Laura's actually making shots today. So, you can just do this. In that case, Laura got caught. Actually, we'll say I made that. It's more realistic. I made that shot, or I miss it. Okay, so I get caught, I take this shot, I miss it. What happens is that the person to my left just takes it out and starts shooting.
I'm not gonna make it.
I pay my life, I go out for 5 seconds. Same rules. You can just still pay your lives into the actual tower, you just don't shoot it on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, the simple, easy way. It's less intimidating if you have new players. And these shots will happen more often. You'll probably find that you don't want to play that way once you get better at it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that, and then of course there is the drinking game option, which is really where this game developed from. But the rules is that instead of being out for 5 seconds, you just owe 5 seconds worth of drinks. You can still play with lives. You don't have to play with lives if you want to keep everybody in the game, but you owe 5 drinks at your discretion, and once you pay them, you're back in the game. Yep. So that's really the majority of the variations you can play. I'm sure you can make some other stuff up if you would like, but yeah. I guess from there we can go into some more strategy, and we'll probably... Oh, right. So, there is another more difficult rule, which is called the Re-Nag Rule. I'll bring Whale back out here first. We'll just do with, we'll go with 4. I'll bring another one out here too. So, sometimes you'll need to invoke this rule, and it's probably the most difficult rule in the game to sort of understand and police, but it is really important that it exists. So what often will happen is that the duck and the frog will be shooting, and they will make their shots at the exact same time, and then both choose to pass it to dragon. Okay? Now, in this case, it's completely unfair, and it is a Re-Nag rule. But in some cases, something might happen, like the duck makes his shot, passes it here as the frog is making a shot, and then, or like the frog hesitates a bit before passing it. It says like, oh, I want whale, sees it's going there, and then actually is like, no, I want to stack you. So in that case, again, dragon has the option to invoke the Re-Nag rule. What the Re-Nag rule says is that you get 1 shot to prove that you weren't caught. So you get 1 little shot to prove that you were not caught. In that case, the dragon is caught and has to take a penalty shot to prevent losing lives. In the case that the dragon makes it, it's like the dragon made the shot on the first try, and then mandatorily had to pass this cup to his right while he picks up this cup and continues shooting. So it's like Frog never made a shot and is still shooting a new cup, and he got past a cup. So he's just in a bad position. The key here is that you have to have it so that if this is his first shot, the frog needs to take control of this cup, not this cup. So Dragon and a Re-Nag will shoot at both cups if he makes the first shot. That prevents him from shooting, making it, and then having to make another one while Frog just loads up and knocks him out. It actually gives the dragon a second shot.
Just a little bit of time, yeah.
That's it. The Re-Nag is up to your discretion. So as you get better, you'll start to see where you get caught legitly with proper movement, and you can choose not to invoke the Re-Nag, or if you choose to, you know, us Canadians, we live by honor system. Don't know about anybody else, but in that case, you know, dragon could invoke it, and the rest of the table would be like, I think you're a better player than that. We're not going to give it to you. So, yes. So that's the Re-Nag. Alright, so we're going to talk about a bit about strategy right now, and just kind of go over the basics of how to play, how to get the most out of the game. And this is kind of, I guess, more advanced stuff that you'd figure out playing on your own, but if you're keen to learn, we can kind of tell you about it, more about what to do. So we're going to start off, we've kind of set the table up with a 6-player game with 3 teams of 2. And we're just going to talk about, because this is no different than if it's an actual 8-player game with 4 teams of 2, but it's a little simpler to understand with less people. And then we'll go down to 4 versus 4, or 2 versus 2, sorry, and kind of talk about what happens when you're head-to-head with another team, and we can talk about singles as well. So, in this situation, these guys have won the top shot, and they're starting with the cup. There's a number of things that can happen. Obviously, if they don't make it on their first try or later, the cups are just going to move like this. But realistically, this team is going to want to get out running and try to get somebody in a bad position right away. So we'll assume that Duck is having a hard time, and the Whale is actually going to make their first shot. So first thing you want to know and you will see people make this mistake, is that in this situation, you never want to go to the right of your actual teammate. So this Whale would never, ever, ever go here, just because it puts their teammate at an automatic disadvantage. Okay, so the option is to either I would say is either to go here, or you could also go here, if you wanted. The only problem with this is that this guy makes it on a first, you're in trouble. So realistically, that's probably your best option, in hopes that Duck now makes it before Seashell really gets shots at it and gets caught. So that's kind of like the very basics of it, of how not to screw over your partner. But we can talk about it now if the cups are now in this position. So Duck has made it on second try, Whale is struggling, so it now goes to Seashell. Okay? Again, this is the same thing. Or, sorry, we'll imagine this happens. So this got passed here, this gets passed here. So now we're in this situation. Shell does not make it on their first try. So it's struggling. Whale makes it on his first try. So again, he could either go to his partner and hope to get this person, but they're not necessarily the strongest team at the table. And in the case that they actually want to work down the dragon and the frog, this is a really viable move. So try to get in front of the frog in hopes that Shell makes it before the frog actually has a decent chance at shooting, and you can make a quick play on the frog, and hopefully they lose a life because of it. Yeah, something you'll often see is actual things moving backwards. So in this case, the cups are here, Whale makes it on their first try, goes to here, frog makes it on their first try, and it just keeps cycling around the table backwards until someone screws up and you catch it. When that happens, it's often just the best thing to do is to go around, especially in singles. That's kind of more important, but in doubles it works as well. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the basics on how to pass the cups effectively. Most people go right behind, but going actually in front of the person shooting is a really effective way to get people out of the game quickly as well. So we can imagine we lose the seashells here and go down to 4. There it is. Okay. So in this case, we just lost our player. Like we talked before, the weakest team ends up with the cups. In this case, it's the stuffed animals. Make this a little more effective. There we go. So again, there starts being kind of more incentive to say miss on purpose, which we can talk about right here. So the issue is that, again, we talk about Duck. He's the weaker player. He's not, or he or she or it is not making the making the ball consistently on their first shot. So what Whale's choice here is to do is Whale's going to take their first shot. Okay, if he makes it, he wants to go to his right on the first shot. Obviously to set Duck up in hopes to make them down. If, as the stronger player, he doesn't make it on the first shot, at that point, he really wants to start missing. Because he doesn't want to make it on his second shot, still have Duck struggling, go to the Dragon, have Dragon as a strong player, automatically get him. Mm-hmm. So the idea here is that Whale is going to miss until Duck makes the shot, their later shot. Goes to the Frog. Now, this is the problem with missing on purpose, is that the Whale gets into a bad situation here, where Frog could take a first shot and make it right away, but Whale has been missing on purpose because Whale is a pro on this team, makes a shot, goes to the Dragon, and it is now in their control.
If you make a shot, you can't kind of like sit and hold it. It's at that point, as soon as you make it, you have to either catch the person to your left or pass it with obviously maybe a pause just to like kind of look around the table before you send it sliding across the table. But you do have to pass it.
Right. So, and then again, this is in the same situation. These guys are both good. So at this point now, you have two teammates who are really good. The idea would be that Frog would probably shoot slightly before Dragon because they got there. If he makes it on the first try, we're obviously going to go here. And then Dragon shoots and they try to get Duck before Duck is even in the game. If in the case Duck misses, Frog misses on the first try, then Dragon has an opportunity, because he's waited, to take just after, to make our first try. We go here, and then they can play that kind of move. So that's kind of how you would want to play if you're both very strong players, is you kind of want to stagger off like that. This is like the hardest strategical thinking in the game. It's like, you really have to be on top of things about what happens. Yeah, so I mean, that's the very basics with regards to this kind of setup and how to pick on people. In singles, strategy is just kind of free for all. You're the only guy who matters in the game, so you can do all of this. Again, go there, go here. It really depends who you like. When I play, it's kind of, you figure out who the better players are and try to get them into bad positions more consistently in order to try to get them out and keep the game even so that you can kind of go up. So if Dragons, these guys are the two best singles players of the game. I mean, these guys are both going to be trying to work at each other this way because they're across, and realistically they both want to end up with these two guys in a three-person singles game. So the idea is they would constantly be going like this.
In singles, there's also a bit of a strategy on who you stand beside or who you're hanging out beside. That can be determined different ways. Like our group usually tries to make it as fair as possible who you go beside, but sometimes that plays a role when you set up.
Yeah.
Eventually it even fields, but it starts that way.
Yeah, just the way it is when you set up. The difference here is if these two were the strongest players at a singles table, Frog would probably be making on his first shot and consistently trying to give it this direction in order to try to get Duck out. So he'd be making on a first shot and getting instead of going here, he'd be going here to try to get this going on.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah. Other than that, you'll kind of you'll figure out strategy as you go, what you like to do, kind of your timing, how fast you shoot, all that stuff. I tend to shoot a little bit slower and just try to have higher percentages, where some people just shoot quickly and try to get it moving as quick as possible. Yeah, and that's about it for strategy. One other thing we can talk about is like actually how to get good at bouncing the ball.
Mm-hmm.
It is more difficult than you think at the start, because the cups do bounce. They bounce out quite easily, and they are relatively small. But once you figure it out, it's pretty easy. And the general rule that I try to tell people is less is more. So you kind of just want to roll the ball over the top. You don't want it up here. Ping pong ball management is a pretty big deal. You don't want to be shooting up here, have it bounce off this way, shoot over that way while the game is catching you. So the lower you can shoot, kind of, and come back, the better. And you can do that by, you just kind of, I always teach people is that keep your palm of your hand down, the wrist, and just bounce this way. You see people like wind up and start by bouncing it way up, but if you restrict them to keeping their wrist down, then that doesn't count. If you restrict them to keep the wrist down, then they bounce it directly in and they get better. The same goes for the top shot. You really don't want to launch it if you'll kind of just want to put it up and roll in. So anyways, that's about it. Yeah, we hope to hope you guys order one and have fun, and hope to see your support on Kickstarter.